vanishes to history.
They did it. They won a very important game today, 34-27, in a game, as Jamie and I were talking about, and Craig jumped in at the very last minute. It felt like a game that was starting off just like the game a week before. 3 straight touchdowns. Chargers give up 21 points, and then eventually the defense steps up. The offense steps up late. They get this win, a win in which I can't believe they still won, but they did, and it was very, very, very important. One more win, they get in, and they've got a pretty soft schedule with the Patriots and the Raiders coming up in the next 2 weeks, both on the road. But let's talk about it. Thursday night, we got a rocky start, but eventually they pulled it out. Jamie, what were you feeling when they scored 21 straight points?
Well, I'll be honest. I thought the game was over when Harbaugh kicked a field goal on the Chargers' second drive, and then the Broncos went right down the field and scored again. Because at that point you're trading 3 for 7, and there was zero reason to believe the defense was going to get off the field at any point in that game after the first 2 possessions. So you kick a field goal to go down 14-10. They go right back down the field and score a touchdown. You're like, great. We're trading touchdowns for field goals. It just felt like that early game decision was going to break them. But got to give the coaching staff credit, give the players credit. Minter made some great adjustments with the defense in the second half, figured out that the Broncos were not interested in throwing the ball down the field, played much tighter press man coverage, started blitzing the shit out of Nix. And even though they weren't getting home, they were getting in his face, and he was a completely different quarterback in the second half. And that flipped the game.
First and foremost, holy freaking inverse. When you're talking about a team that throughout the season has been cooked in the second half, they basically come out sleepwalking. And at least on the defensive side of the ball, the offense basically carries them through the first half. Who knew that could possibly happen against a Broncos team who's one of the best defenses in the league? And then they go in at halftime and take like a couple shots of B12 to the head. I don't know what the hell would happen. They made the adjustments. They came out with a different energy. They were flying around on defense. And like Jamie mentioned, they did make those adjustments in the passing game. We were in our group chat, and I think I said it. I'm like, if they don't stop sending 4 after Bo Nix, this game's over. They just need to blitz early and often. And that's exactly what happened in the second half. They got after Nix, put a little pressure on him, and dude basically went from, they were expecting Bo picks, and they made him look more like Drew Brees under Sean Payton there in the first half. But then in the second half, dude looked like Steve Rogers what Captain America, whatever his name is, without the super soldier serum.
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, Steve Rogers, right.
That's what he looked like in the second half. So kudos for them for getting it figured out at halftime, because I was not sure. I think we were all really, really, really thinking that game was over in the first half. And Harbaugh just seems to have this almost sometimes unrealistic belief in his troops. So like Jamie mentioned, you saw him kick that field goal and you're kind of thinking, well, they aren't able to stop anyone. What makes you think that they will at some point? But he believed his coordinators that they would make the adjustments, and the guys came through. So hats off to him, because he believed way more than I did.
Yeah, it felt you start to get a little hope when Harbaugh steals that 3 points at halftime. Right before halftime, where they get that free kick field goal, and you're going, oh, okay, maybe stealing some extra points is a good start. And then it just felt like the Broncos kept making mistakes after mistakes in the second half, and the Chargers kept capitalizing on it. We saw a late hit. You're talking about, B12 shots. I don't know if it was maybe that late hit on Herbert that shook things loose, but there was that late hit while he's sliding. They end up scoring a touchdown. They don't get the 2-point conversion to follow that. There's a horse collar in the backfield on a sack that gets negated. That leads to another touchdown. We saw an offsides by Zach Allen. Eventually, it moves the sticks, leads to another touchdown, which, by the way, that throw to Darius Davis today, going across your body towards the sideline, falling down.
Almost looked like he was turning too a little bit. It was kind of sidearm going to
right across his body, getting tackled, like, the runner sliding low on you. Going to the ground and still, not just like hitting Davis in stride. It couldn't have been more perfect if he was upright and had a clean pocket, but he somehow did that across his body, working his way towards the sideline, falling down, getting tackled. And it was, that throw was unbelievable.
The throw was unbelievable, and you got to love the play call too because they set it up. They threw a couple of screens to Davis behind the line of scrimmage, and then they roll him out there on that orbit motion, making it look like another screen. The linebacker stops his feet. Davis runs right past him. Actually, it wasn't a linebacker. I think it was Surtain. And you wind up scoring a touchdown on it. Just a great play. You know, we were talking last week about that kind of predictive play calling where you're running the same plays and you're adding wrinkles and you're building on plays that are working. And that's really the first time we've seen that this year, where they ran something that worked a couple times and they set up a certain look, baited a reaction, and got points out of it. That was such a good play call.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about just building on plays, when something works, you're having success, or even if you've shown it to a team a few times, just get their eyes fixated on it and make them believe that that's your tendency, and then throw in a tendency breaker. And they did it, and look, lo and behold, turned into a touchdown. And also kudos to Josh Palmer for that 2-point conversion afterwards. That was an amazing acrobatic catch.
I can't believe he caught that ball.
Yeah,
it was like a tip assist to yourself. I mean, basketball was crazy. So I didn't think he was going to get that ball at all. It was tipped. Speaking of tips by a defender, Herbert tried to fit it into a really small window, and it had enough on it to get to the back of the end zone, and Palmer did the rest, man. So these guys really rallied. Kind of some unsung heroes, some guys that have been questioned throughout the season that have been piled on, and for good reason, definitely stepped up tonight.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm not even sure he was throwing that to Palmer, because there was one of the tight ends was right underneath that play, and I think he tipped it first, which is why Palmer didn't catch it the first time. I think he was throwing it to the tight end. It got through his hands, and he tipped it, and Palmer kind of batted it up and tipped it to himself on the rebound.
It was a defensive player that tipped it.
Oh, was it?
It was a defender.
It was one of the linebackers.
It was a defender.
Or, I'm sorry, I thought it was one of the tight ends.
I'm pretty sure it was a linebacker.
It was. Yeah. But what I was going to say, speaking of tight windows, it felt like towards the end of that first half where Herbert made that awful decision trying to hit Palmer over the middle. They're driving. It's towards the end of the first half. He throws an interception. It gets picked off. The defense comes right back, and they make a stop. I think they ended up having like -2 yards on that drive.
They did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Harbaugh's smart enough to call timeout, and it's 21-10 at that point, and you're going, God, the one time they're driving, now they can't score. To the defense to step up there, go have the Broncos move backwards, get lucked out on that fair catch interference, and then go out and kick that 57-yard field goal to cut it down to one score going into halftime. That was really, really impressive, because it really felt like not only like getting that really cool field goal felt cool because it, was awesome and you never see it. But also it's that swing of 3 points where, they're already going in, they're already in field goal range. They were driving, they were looking for 7 at that point. Herbert tries to do too much, gets picked off, and then defense steps up, they swing it, and then they're only down a touchdown at that point. It was 21-13, 8, right?
Yep, they're down 8.
Yeah, they were down 8 going into halftime, and then after that, the Chargers just took over in that second half.
Leave it up to a play that hasn't happened since the 1970s in a Chargers game in prime time. The free kick was the last time. Did they say like the late 70s the last time that actually happened? Of course, it would absolutely happen in a Chargers game, but that felt kind of like the flashpoint, because you see Herbert throw that pick. And in seasons past, that's basically the point where you can identify, okay, that was it. That's what cost the game. And they're never able to recover, and it just kind of snowballs from there. Nope, not tonight. The Chargers had a little bit of luck on their side, and Denver absolutely imploded when it came to penalties. You saw the lack of discipline there throughout the back half of the game, including at the end of the second quarter. And I think the Chargers only had like one penalty the entire night.
1 or 2.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that. I mean, of course, there tend to be like these flags that are almost phantom calls for no reason whatsoever, but that wasn't going down tonight. They had a lot of flags go their way. They were actually getting calls that were properly called, even though they did get screwed on one touchdown that absolutely shouldn't have been with an illegal man downfield. But hey, I'm not here to complain about that. They were able to pull it out ultimately, again, in a game where in the past they would have absolutely just completely laid down and gotten boat raced. That didn't happen. Jim Harbaugh is the difference in this team. And I know a lot of people have been giving him like some flack because they don't necessarily like his methods all the time. They don't quite understand it. But as you can see, with a team that is not as talented as many of the top tier or tier 1 teams in the NFL, Jim's still making it work somehow.
Yeah, Jim's making it work. You know, the way that game started, you're thinking, God, this kind of feels like that Raider game last year where they're going to get boat raced. They just didn't look good early in the game, and then he pulls them back in at halftime. I think that field goal kind of buoyed them a little bit. He rallies them, and they play well, and we get something we've been waiting for all season. Herbert takes a game over with the team down 2 scores, and they come back to win. And Herbert made some fantastic plays in that game. Outside of really one bad decision, he was almost flawless in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Just made so many big-time plays, standing tall in the pocket, taking hits to deliver the ball, running on that bad foot when he needed to pick up extra yards. He literally put the team on his back, something we haven't seen a lot of this year in situations where they're behind in the game. And he played a complete game, probably for the first time all season.
Big salute to the offensive line, man. You were going against the team that was first in sacks in the NFL, and you only gave up 2. And considering who the Chargers have, specifically in between guard to guard, I did not suspect that would happen tonight. And the second sack they gave up was pretty much a numbers game. You know, they got out-schemed in the protection. They had one guy rush free. So, I mean, you know, you still have to be prepared and adjust for that, but I'm not making a huge deal about it. It wasn't the most ideal part of the game. You know, the Chargers had the lead and were driving and were in negative territory. But overall, I did not expect, again, it's bizarro world tonight. I feared that Justin Herbert would basically be a sitting Oregon Duck because the Broncos would let him have it all night long, send pressure, specifically up the middle of the offensive line, and probably knock him around a bit. And I didn't think he was going to be able to be as mobile as he was. But this dude's a freaking warrior because he went from just 4 days ago. You saw the limping. He was barely able to move around. He would not think to attempt to run the ball. But tonight, he just basically sucked it up. I don't know what they shot that ankle up with. I saw the huge brace on it. Cool. But dude just kind of sucked it up and made it happen. That 3rd and 11 conversion after that second down, QJ drop in the second half. That's the stuff legend is made of, to be completely honest with you. The guy put the team on his back, and for all those people out there who claim he isn't clutch, he doesn't step up in huge moments. Well, you got a ton of moments tonight, so pick one.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because it feels like kind of moment that's gonna go under the radar when you look at like everything he did today, because Herbert was amazing. But there was a time right before the 2-minute warning at the end of that game where the Chargers were only up 3. The defense holds them to a 3-and-out, the Broncos, and the Chargers get the ball back. They have the ball at their own 10-yard line. Gus runs it on first down for no gain. Second down, the ball hits QJ in the hands again. He turns too far up, took his eyes off the ball, drops the ball. And, you know, if on third down they don't convert that, then we're talking about QJ dropped an easy pass again. And then we're continuing that narrative. But Herbert on a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, decided to run it himself and go run for that first down where he had 2 defenders falling down. He saw it, ran to the first down, got a couple extra yards. And then right after that, Gus Edwards has that huge gain afterwards. And then everything that happened with QJ and all the bad ill will that a lot of us would have been talking about if they don't convert there and keep the Broncos in that game. Still down 3, and they got a punt back in their own territory that far deep. That's the type of thing that Herbert does that, we're not really talking about, but he really helped kind of shift that kind of blame for QJ. Not that he thought about it when he was running, but to be able to carry your team late like that, convert that first down, have Gus go down, and then go and score on that Darius Davis touchdown. Nobody's thinking about that drop at all, and that's what, true QB1s do, and that's what Herbert did today.
Funny enough, I was thinking about it now that you mentioned it. He's protecting QJ in the media and now on the field because you saw the flack he was getting from a few weeks ago where, he was really down in the dumps after that Baltimore game with multiple drops and just wasn't having a great go of it. Herbert steps in front of the podium and accepts some of the blame and just says, I'm going to keep going to him. And tonight he essentially covers up the hugest sin because, like you mentioned, that could have turned the tide of the game altogether. And Herbert sucks the momentum right back to the Chargers side with that huge run. So, again, all the leadership stuff that people have questioned, I think he's starting to put that to rest. In my mind, it was already happening. But again, now there's more definitive proof on the field.
Well, now we're seeing it. I think a lot of the leadership was happening behind closed doors before because you had guys stepping up and saying he was leading, but nobody seemed to believe it. Now you're seeing it on the field during games. But yeah, for that game, I mean, look at your Charger bingo cards. Who had 15-yard Herbert run, 43-yard Gus Edwards run, 34-yard Hassan Haskins touchdown reception, ice the game? Who had that on your bingo card? I'm going to go ahead and say nobody. Nobody saw that coming. I certainly didn't. But nice to see Gus step up with a big run late in the game there. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. I don't love seeing Haskins out there in that situation, but I'm glad he caught the ball and made the play.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we owed him an apology. Do you guys think we went too hard on Hassan Haskins after
that? He made a play. He made up for what he'd done previously. Great. Thanks for making
He made a play, but it wasn't in the red zone and it wasn't on short yardage. So that was what our biggest problem was.
Man, look, I thought, let me not say that. Gus, for all intents and purposes, I thought wasn't coming back into the game. So I figured the running game was kaput because they weren't going to lean on Kamani Vidal. And when Haskins went in, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do as far as moving the ball is concerned. But Gus decided he was going to come back in there near the end of the third quarter and just steal a touchdown really quick. Dude was out the entire third quarter and then just popped back in there in the red zone and sniped a quick touchdown. And then he was good to go for the remainder of the game. Nice to see that he still has. I mean, Gus isn't the long speed guy. He's not the most explosive dude, but you saw the power, contact balance, and just will downfield running the ball on that big, what was it, a 43 long yard run? And that was like his longest run in 5 years, which is ridiculous. But again, it came through when it needed to. And you're talking about putting the Chargers in position to ice the game away. And that was what happened. Guys just stepped up and in positions on the team where you thought that, they were a little destitute. The running back position is in question. JK isn't back until probably next week. And Gus Edwards said, here, I know I'm a little hobbled, but I'm going to get back in here and I'm going to make a difference because I've shown myself to be that type of guy in years past. I haven't necessarily done it here in my first season as a Charger, but it's time for me to step up and make it happen. And he absolutely did. So I think there are a lot of kudos to go to multiple guys, but definitely want to say, salute to Gus for gutting it out, whatever it was he was dealing with, and coming in and being one of the difference makers there to close it out.
Yeah, because Herbert was leading rusher for a while in that game until that 43-yard run by Gus, who finished with 68. But man, all the tackles he avoided going down. I thought he was going to fumble it like 2 or 3 times on that drive with as many trail defenders that were trying to swipe at that ball. But man, he had a pretty nasty stiff arm to finish off that run too. He looked like vintage Gus Edwards. It was awesome to see that at the end of the game.
How long do you think it took him to run those 43 yards? 5, 6 seconds?
43 minutes?
Jeremy cooking this man on his longest run in 5 years. Oh, man. Sorry, Gus. We can't let you get out of here without giving it to you a little bit, man. It's all good fun. All in good fun.
I mean, it's still faster than I could run a 40, but still. So many positives to take away from that game. I mean, two biggest takeaways for me, they played complementary football. They got big plays out of the special teams when they needed it. They got big plays out of the defense in the second half. And the offense, really outside of maybe 1 or 2 drives, was pretty much good the whole game. It's the first time all year that I can remember them being that good the entire game. Efficient, productive, moving the ball down the field, putting points on the board. And not only did Gus have a 43-yard run, he had a huge juke where he stopped his feet, cut back, started up again, and scored on like a 5 or 6 yard touchdown run on their second to last touchdown. I didn't know he could stop his feet and get started again. So
I thought he was dead. The dude was out the first half. Like he didn't come back until that. Dead. Yeah, like he wasn't out there until that, that drive in the red zone. I don't think he had been a part of that drive whatsoever until they got inside of the 10-yard line, which was just kind of like, oh, okay, magically he's healed. Whatever, I'll take it.
The other thing too is Craig and I talked about this last week on After Hours. We talked about the third down offense. Well, third down offense and defense, but specifically the offense. Talked about how they're constantly in that 25 to 30% conversion rate on third down. Today, I believe they were 6 out of 12 or 6 out of 13. And we kind of said, for you to be for you to be successful as an offense in the NFL in big games down the stretch, you've got to be converting 40, 45% of your third downs. And I think they were right around 50% today. So big adjustment for Roman. They were in more third and shorts today. They converted more third downs, and they were able to keep that ball moving against a really good defense to put the points on the board and have that comeback. So good job by Roman. Good job by the offense converting those third downs.
And they held the Broncos to 5 of 13. So they did their job on both sides of the ball, which with the way that game started off, you would not have suspected. But again, the Broncos didn't necessarily find themselves in very many third down situations in the first half. They were getting chunk plays. I mean, anytime they turned around and handed the ball off to whomever, they were getting 5+. So, but still overall, when it mattered, deep into the game in the second half, they were getting the Broncos off of the field. And aside, like Jamie mentioned, from the very first drive, when they went 3 and out, the offense was clicking. And this is with not a great running game. They were still able to move the ball via the pass, setting up some of the short passing plays, giving the Broncos. I mean, they didn't go deep a bunch. When you're talking deep, like they're not throwing the ball 30 plus 40 yards down the field because they don't have the wide receivers that create separation that way. A lot of those big passing plays were coming on deep overs where they were finding holes in the Broncos zones, and Herbert was just getting the amount of time to allow his receivers like Ladd and Palmer to work those deep overs and crosses and find those little windows to fit the ball in and allowing them to do work after they catch. So they're manufacturing bigger passing plays, just not the way that I think a lot of people want them to, but this is their game right now. They're finding ways to get the ball in their receivers' hands and allowing them to do work after the catch. But again, most of these are coming off of crossing routes. But if it's working, you keep going to the well until they stop it.
So before that drive, right before they kicked that field goal where Minter was kind of giving up yards to keep them in bounds, the Broncos were 8 rushes for 19 yards, and Nix was 9 of 13 for 65 yards in that second half. So felt like the defense really clamped down towards the end of that game. There was a question here that I was going to get to about playoff scenarios. Where'd that go? Here.
By the way, could the broadcast stop talking about how many dimes Bo Nix is throwing when he's not throwing the ball past the line of scrimmage? Could we just end that conversation? Oh, he throws a strike.
Right.
Yeah. A 4-yard strike to a wide receiver standing wide open in the middle of the field with his feet stopped. Awesome. Congratulations. Bo Nix is having fun. He's smiling. Look at him. I bet he's not fucking smiling now.
Wow, let's make a big deal out of the guy enjoying himself. That's awesome. Yeah. Such a highlight. I mean,
he's
I don't know.
Smiling.
You can pay me to call these games. I'll give you a little bit more in the color commentary. I might get kicked off air, but still, it'll be colorful.
So to answer this question from Joseph Roybal, who I think is new, welcome, Joseph. Chargers have a 98% chance of making the playoffs now. To secure a spot, they need the 49ers to beat the Dolphins and the Titans to beat the Colts, and they secure it this weekend. If they get 2 of those, it's an automatic in. They win next week, it's in. I
think if they win, they're in. I think as long as they just win, they're in.
Who, the Chargers?
The Chargers.
Oh, yeah. If they win next week, it's 100%.
Or just next week.
The board during the game said they had to win 2 out of their next 3 to clinch a playoff spot.
Okay.
So if they win next week, they're in.
But yeah, if the Broncos had won tonight, they would have clinched, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And if the Chargers would have lost, their percentage would have moved to 74.
Mm-hmm.
But they could get in this weekend without even having to win next week if the Colts and Dolphins lose this weekend.
Both have to lose, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Stephen P., huge donation. Win or lose, it's always great to hear from all 3 of you. Happy holidays, guys. Happy holidays to you, Stephen. Thank you.
Happy holidays, Stephen, man.
Yeah.
To you and yours. Enjoy, man.
Demetrius, great win. We needed more Darius Davis, and he delivered. How did you guys feel? I mean, it felt like the very first series of the game was that kind of handoff to Darius Davis that didn't work, and I'm going, God, what are we doing here? Yeah. But then we got a downfield catch from Darius Davis today.
We did.
It was like the first time ever. I mean, it's definitely his first receiving touchdown in his first 2 years. So, yeah, there was that. But Oh man, I understand wanting to get the ball to him and allow him to move in space, but I keep saying this. Darius Davis is a one cut and go guy. He's not somebody that you give the ball to and allow to make like multiple guys miss. That's not his thing. That's why he's really good as a return guy, because he's good at setting up blocks, sticking his foot in the ground, cutting in one direction or the other, and then using his straight line speed. But the stuff where QJ technically is better in like these sweeps and reverses than Darius Davis is, and QJ ain't great at it. But as far as movement skills go, QJ would be the better option. I'm just glad they finally realized that Darius Davis is fast in a straight line, and they allowed him to utilize that speed. And look, it turned out 7 points when the Chargers really needed it. So again, salute to the Chargers for making adjustments.
Yep. Then Blazing Bolts. Merry Christmas, guys. What a great win. We gave the Broncos charcoal for Christmas. Bolt up. That's coal, right?
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not charcoal. Those are two different things. But we love you, Blazing Bolts.
Charcoal would be nasty too. So either way, nobody wants it.
Yeah. Somebody wanted to see if here we go. Pokepop TV. Hey guys, don't you owe Haskins an apology?
No.
Well, let me share something with you guys, since I guess this is probably a pretty good segue here. So right before we got on, I had somebody in the mentions, and I think this would be good for the show. Chargers Wire says, hey, Justin Herbert pitches to Hassan Haskins, who scores 34 yards out. Chargers 34, Broncos 24. And then from God here, it says, curious to see if Garrett Sisti brings this up tonight. So if you guys need a direct line to God, I got it. He's in the mentions. And we did bring it up tonight. No, we don't owe him an apology, but a great play nonetheless. God, great great talking to you.
We knew you were connected, just not to this degree.
Oh man. God, that made me laugh. Oh, okay.
That's good stuff.
I don't know who that is, but that was awesome. Demetrius Hampton, does QJ equal Cordell Patterson? First of all, let's learn how to spell his name, because that's basically Adderall that you're spelling here. But no, not even. I don't even know what the similarities are, that they play the same position.
If you could go in Dollar General and buy a version, then yeah, I guess, because it's basically what he is. He's like the Dollar Tree version of Cordell Patterson. He's not nearly as big or strong, but I get what you're getting at. Like if they utilized him in that way, kind of like more of the running back role, but he's nowhere near as physical. So yeah, I see where you're going there. The idea is there, just like in practice, not necessarily.
Jamie, we're around Christmas time. Any nice words for Antonio Pierce? Are you in the holiday spirit enough to give some nice words for the Raiders?
Fuck you.
To Antonio Pierce, right? Not Blazing Bolts.
to Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
You can go fuck yourself, my friend.
That's as close to season's greetings as you get from Jamie.
I hope you have to coach in Oakland with fucking Desmond Ridder as your quarterback for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Give that man a lifetime contract, and keep him there, please.
Yes, I know. But remember, he yelled Raiders to a crowd late in the year. He was like such a Raiders guy. Yeah, they had to hire him.
Aura.
Yeah, he had it. From TC, I know you got to get out of here soon, Jamie. Would you rather play Pittsburgh or Buffalo in the playoffs? I think it's a pretty easy answer.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No doubt about that. More positive stuff from Stone Smart tonight. Is he looking like a legit tight end one?
Tight end one?
That's a stretch.
No, but if you bring in somebody the defense has to respect, he makes a really solid tight end too.
Very. A deadly tight end too, because you're going to be able to create some really nice mismatches with him as a 2. So yeah, something to look forward to moving into the future. So let's see what the plan is in the offseason. But again, we're not talking about the offseason because the Chargers are playoff bound.
It's amazing to me that he's still making plays. It's like defenses still haven't figured out what the Chargers are doing with him yet.
Yeah.
Like the Broncos weren't prepared for him.
No, And it feels like every week we're seeing more confidence from Stone Smart. I mean, the catch and run today where he caught it and like immediately turned up field. to gain a bunch of yards, popped up and pointed first down. We just weren't seeing that early on from him. And now it just feels like with every game now, starting as that tight end one, he's starting to right. Well, I don't know if you call Hurst tight end one, but the more snaps he's getting, more experience he's getting, he's definitely getting a lot more confidence.
I'm sorry. Am I the only one that almost, because I don't curse, almost did though? When Hayden Hurst caught that third down reception and got up and spun the ball, celebrating, I'm like, I know you're happy you're out there, dude. Get back in the huddle. Just get back. Chill out.
What was more impressive was that throw from Herbert to squeeze it in that window. That was crazy. And he's getting up and celebrating. I'm like, why don't you go high five your quarterback who just put it on you? Robert Shields, thank God we didn't get Sean Payton. Bolt up, love you guys. Well, we are glad that we all got Harbaugh.
Agreed.
I can't believe they only ran the ball 18 times in the second half in a game that was still very much to be had.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
With all the success they had in the first half running the ball, to only run it 8 times in the second half, when your play sheet says run the ball.
Yeah, he had the call sheet turned the wrong way because he missed the reminder.
I don't get it, but thank you.
Okay, last one, Jamie. Who would you rather ASU play, Clemson or Texas?
That's easy, Clemson.
Yeah.
I'd rather they play Clemson for sure. I think with the way their defense is, I think they could give Texas a run for their money, but definitely Clemson.
Yeah. Okay. Oh boy, I won't read that one. Can we talk about Palmer?
I bet you I know which one.
So many flashes. The one right above this. So many flashes. It seems to explode off the scrimmage, but pretty low production aside from chunk plays this year. We already talked about his impressive play in the back of the end zone.
I think he's averaging like 17 or 18 yards per reception this year. So he's had timely plays. He's not making consistent plays. That's Ladd's job. But it seems like when they need a big play, they're finding ways to get it to him. So not big numbers, but timely numbers. And you'll take that every time.
And therein is the key word. I've said it a bunch on a few of my IG5OIs. Good teams make timely plays. You don't always have to play perfect football. More often than not, especially if you're deficient in certain areas, that's not really going to be possible. But you have to be able to make the plays in the moments where necessary. And Palmer's not been the consistent receiver that we probably expected him to be this year, but he is making plays in big moments. So maybe he is their big play guy, just not in the way that we anticipate big plays being made.
So Palmer is averaging 15.7 yards per catch. So, yeah, big chunk plays so far this season.
I think you got to give Roman some credit. You know, we've already done a little bit of that tonight, but they're starting to find ways to get guys open on a pretty consistent basis. They had guys open all over the field today, and they were making plays left and right, moving the ball up and down the field. It seems like he's making some adjustments, even with Herbert injured. You know, he's resisting the urge to kind of bottle the offense up and protect Herbert. He's letting Justin be himself, and they're making plays in all quadrants of the field. So I think he deserves some credit for figuring things out, even with, you know, basically only playing with 2 offensive linemen.
And it's why I called it Bizarro World. I did not expect them to be able to come out and move the ball so efficiently against one of the better defenses in the league. There was nothing that gave you any indication, specifically after last week, that they would walk in 4 days later and have a performance like this. So, yeah, again, kudos also to Greg Roman. We give you a hard time because you deserve it. But in moments like this, you're showing some growth. We just need to see it more consistently.
Now, did you see from Scott Somerset, who I think is Ania Boygby sightings?
I saw one.
Today. He got 1 tackle, I think, that I can remember.
I remember exactly. It was a running play. He got completely washed and got up and was the first player to the ball again and still missed the tackle. So he got put on his stomach, popped up, got back into the play, and then missed the tackle afterwards. It's the only play I saw him during the game, and it was during a replay, and it just looked as terrible as you think it would on TV.
Is he 92?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like I saw him make a tackle at some point.
He did. He's had,
or at least he was close enough to the pile that it made it look like he made the tackle.
What about Kendall Williamson today? That's a name I did not expect to see hit the field today.
I was wondering who the next safety up was going to be because I didn't think they had any more. I know Dean Leonard was cross-training at safety also, so I assumed they would put him out there. But I'm like, who's 40? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh. and I think he's a former Stanford guy. So I don't know if there's some connection there or it gives him some familiarity with the scheme. I mean, this is years ago, so defensively it doesn't necessarily line up. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see him be a liability at any point. Didn't see him be attacked whatsoever. He, wasn't targeted. So guys just getting in there and filling in. Next man up. Apparently it does matter on this team, and it's working out.
And speaking of Dean Leonard, real nice PBU on Vele on a third down. Early in that game.
Cortland Sutton normally terrorizes the Chargers, and you didn't hear a peep from him tonight.
He made a few plays.
I mean, like normally bag breakers. He's always good for. Typically with him, specifically in the red zone, there's always a touchdown pass where he makes some sort of ridiculous catch in like the back corner. It's like his signature, these weird, ridiculous, one-handed, super acrobatic catches in the end zone. I just don't feel like he was as much of a difference maker tonight as what he typically is when the Chargers playing.
Yeah, he had, I think, 50 yards today. Michelle, was this the highest score of the season for the Chargers? If you guys had to guess, 34.
I want to say they scored 37 against the Bengals.
34.
34.
They tied for their highest output today, offensively.
Against the Broncos.
Yeah. Crazy. I didn't even think of it until she said it, and I just looked it up. All right. If you guys got any more questions, feel free to send them in. There was one other did every pass catcher on the roster have a reception today except DJ Chark? Could that be true?
So.
That might actually. That's another thing that I didn't think about until just now. Because he had thrown to 19 different receivers or something at one point. Is that what they said?
That was him and Nick's combined.
Combined, yeah. If there was 19 different receivers,
are you sure?
It's like, is Harbaugh out there running routes too?
It felt like
how does they account for all 19?
They throw to 19 Chargers?
They don't have 19 healthy pass catching bodies as it is.
Hey, eligible offensive linemen.
Nah, we're not counting the game of pitch and catch him and Harbaugh do pregame. Those receptions don't count.
No, but I think it was 10. Was it 10? One.
It was 10. Yeah, it was 10.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I did see Chark out in the field, which was funny because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder if Chark's really out there tonight. And the second I said it, I saw him going in for a snap, and then I didn't see him again.
Let's see. What would you guys think about Bozeman today?
He's garbage.
He's still not good. The interior of the offensive line collectively played much better, but no, there was some. I've never seen an offensive lineman get beat across his face so often. Pause if necessary, but it's a consistent thing. He's still a liability on the interior, but collectively, amongst the interior guys, they played a pretty clean game tonight, all things considered.
Two best scoring defenses gave up 34 and 27 respectively.
Well, it ain't 40.
Oh, so. See, not true. Chenault didn't get a catch today. So it wasn't just Chark.
Well, one guy's been on the team the entire year.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about Kamani Vidal today?
He had a couple pretty bad whiffs in pass protection, and outside of, I think, one run and maybe one reception, he didn't do much.
No. It's not very consistent. He's good for one 10 to 12 yard game or 10 plus 10 to 15 yard game every game. It feels like one nice run, and then everything's just kind of 2-3 yards in a cloud of dust. And it's sad because I think one of his strong suits in college was that he was a pretty decent pass protector, but rookie running backs don't necessarily come into the league and thrive there. So I'm sure he's learning and still growing there.
Yeah, I think he had a 19-yard run today, but I don't think he had a catch today.
I thought he had one.
I think he had a couple of short catches. Maybe he didn't. I remember the run for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I have to look that up. Too early since Chargers are making the playoffs, but do we think the Chargers take defense in the first round of the draft? And that's early.
I would probably put money on an offensive lineman late in the draft.
In the first round?
Yeah.
I think they move around a little bit. I haven't really started doing draft stuff, but I do know that there are some strengths in the draft in areas that the Chargers have needs, and I could see them maybe maneuvering somewhere within, between the first and third round to get, an additional pick in one of those 2 rounds, specifically maybe like the second round. The offensive line crop isn't all that great on the interior. I think it's mostly tackles, interior linemen, it's kind of a crapshoot, but there are some really nice tight ends available in this year's class for sure.
Kamani Vidal did not have a catch today.
Okay.
So there was a question. I'll just ask you because I don't want to go back and look for it. Do you guys have more confidence now in this defense heading into seemingly the playoffs, or like does that second half kind of give you a little bit more promise or a little bit more confidence heading into the playoffs, or are you still pretty wary of what kind of defense this really is?
I think it's matchup dependent, to be honest with you. I think there are teams that will be in the playoffs that I feel comfortable with them against, and I think there are teams in the playoffs that I want no part of with this defense.
i.e. Buffalo.
I don't think anybody wants Buffalo.
No, nobody wants a part of that. But my thing is,
in fuego.
What can happen, and I'm just going to chalk it up to it being a short week, maybe. You can't sleepwalk through the first half on defense like that against one of these teams in the playoffs, specifically a Buffalo. You're not catching them. If they get up on you by 2 scores, it's probably good night for you because you're not going to be able to stop them. So yeah, for all of the holes the defense showed just against the Bucs, and then for a half of football against the Broncos this week, they've got to get a lot of that stuff shored up. But again, it was a great performance by the offense. I don't know how many of these they can consistently put together against very good defenses, but going into the playoffs, defense is going to have to be as solid as they were in the earlier portion of the season.
Lou says the best path is Houston and KC. Agreed?
I think Houston and KC are 2 teams that I'm comfortable with, and I'd even be comfortable with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Steelers would be number 3 on that list for me, but definitely Houston and KC. And it's funny to say that no one's really afraid of 12-1 team right now, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They're just barely getting by.
All right, guys, I got to bounce. Are we ready to?
Oh, yeah, there was.
Or I can go and you guys can stay. Whatever.
No. Let's do the. We'll close this out. They just said that there's a Harbaugh victory speech. Let's do it like we've done before. Let me find this thing real quick, okay? And we'll do it. Let's see. This one? Okay. Here we go. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, okay? Oh, dang, I almost started.
Those are things. Those are still down the wall. This is nobody to bring up. Hey, just for everybody. We'll sing it all. We'll sing it to ourselves. Each and every man in here. I mean, every guy that stepped up the opportunity squad. I'm so glad the rest of the opportunity squad is here, baby. Love you. The Spanos family. Love you.
Oh.
Don't do that.
Loud and proud like we've never sung it before. So it echoes out into the stadium. 1, 2, you know what to do. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. We know what he can deny. You go. Hold it down. We will see you Monday. Man, oh man, this possibly have it better than I?
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Only John Spanos could look that corny and that clean of a Letterman jacket.
That jacket does look good, and he
Not on him.
he looks like a big
Corn
dork.
ball.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. And Jamie, thanks for staying a little bit longer. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Salute.